Gossip reaches you wrapped in concern. It's because somebody wants influence without accountability. Gossip doesn't usually announce itself as malice, it presents as care. So let's have a real conversation what it's like for dealing with difficult people. Now, my name is Brenda Neckvatal, and I help the strongest leaders deal with the messiest people. And most leaders actually believe gossip is a cultural issue. It's something to discourage and something to clean up. Now, that is an oversimplification of what gossip is. Gossip that survives inside strong teams doesn't survive because people are bored. It survives because it actually works. And here's how it shows up. Someone asks for a moment. They lower their voice and they preface the conversation really carefully. They tell you they're concerned about something. They tell you that they debated bringing it up. Those two things right there, that is a flag. That should tell you that they just want something more than the best for the team. And then when they deliver the information that didn't need to be delivered at all, bam, you know you're faced with gossip. It's not a report, it's not a narrative, it's filled with interpretation, emotion, and assumption. And because it's framed as concerned, leaders often treat it as a responsibility. They listen, they nod, and then they thank the person for speaking up. And in that moment, a line starts to be crossed because gossip isn't defined as tone, it's defined by intent and structure. Gossip just doesn't happen between employees. Gossip that is presented a concern seeks some form of resolution. Gossip seeks circulation, and concerns that come with facts and accountability. Gossip comes with stories and disclaimers. Now, the damage that begins when leaders don't slow the momentum down shows up a little bit later, right? They don't ask where the information came from. That's a mistake. They don't clarify what outcome the person is seeking. That is a mistake. They don't redirect the conversation or reset the expectation. That is a mistake. So, guess what? The pattern forms. The same people keep bringing in the same kind of information, and they will always do it privately, they will always do it selectively, and they will always frame it in the form of protection. So meanwhile, trust starts to erode quietly. Team members begin to feel watched. Conversations feel like really unsafe, and people start guarding what they say. All signals that somebody is working the team. And the leader does not see it happening in real time. Mainly because the real team, because the manager is not in the day to day with the rest of everybody else. But gossip rarely explodes; it seeps. It seeps into relationships. It seeps into perception. It seeps into decision making. So soon, leaders find themselves managing shadows instead of behavior. Then they start to react to the rumors. They're sensing tension without having any form of clarity whatsoever. And they're trying to solve problems that don't exist in the form they were presented. That's when gossip actually becomes costly. Now, it's not just annoying, it actually distorts reality. And I promise you, your high performers feel it first. They stop trusting feedback. They stop believing conversations are confidential and they stop being candid. And once candor disappears, performance follows. And this is very true for people that are not high performers. Your best average employee that you depend on feels exactly the same thing. And this is where leaders underestimate the impact of somebody constantly bringing gossip to you in this manner. They think that gossip hurts feelings. I'm telling you, it doesn't. It actually breaks a system. It teaches people that indirect communication is safer than direct communication. And it teaches people that the narrative matters more than the actual truth. Have you ever noticed that? Have you ever noticed that it is easy to convince somebody of a lie and really hard to convince them of a truth? It teaches people that influence can be gained without ownership. And the people who thrive in that environment, they're not your strongest contributors. Promise you, they're not. They are your quiet destabilizers. They are your snipers. Leaders often respond too late. They address gossip broadly. They remind people to be professional, and then they encourage openness. And those responses miss the mark. because gossip isn't it's not a group problem, it's a pattern problem. And patterns actually require interruption, not reminders. The moment gossip is treated as useful input, it starts to multiply. The moment it's redirected with clarity, it dies. But that requires leaders to do something extremely uncomfortable. It means that they have to stop rewarding concern that lacks accountability. They have to redirect the conversation back to the source, back to the facts, and back to ownership. And most leaders, they don't do this because they don't want to encourage or discourage anybody from speaking up. And that fear is totally understandable. It's also misplaced because clear leadership doesn't silence the voices, it sharpens them. So when leaders make it clear that concern must come with responsibility, the culture therefore starts to strengthen. But when they don't, suspicion always replaces trust. And this is why gossip feels so corrosive. It creates movement without resolution. It creates emotion without reaction. And it creates influence without contributions. Leaders will always feel it later when decisions feel harder than they should, when that alignment takes longer, and when conversations feel like they're being guarded. And this is exactly the reason why I built the app, right? It's designed for moments when information is presented as helpful, but your spidey senses, something feels off. When leaders need to determine whether they're hearing a concern or being handed a narrative. So the app helps leaders slow the moment down, ask the right questions, and redirects conversation before gossip turns into cultural erosion. Not with lectures, and certainly not with policy quotes, because you never want to be leading behind a piece of paper. But it happens with clarity. So let's have a real conversation what it's like for leaders dealing with difficult people. You don't need to accept gossip as the cost of having a team. You don't need to manage rumors, and you don't need to guess what to do when concern doesn't feel clean. Now, the link to the app is below. So, strong leaders, look, strong leadership, it's not about knowing everything, it's about protecting the integrity of how your information moves.